His bravery is beyond what I can even imagine. Joe Lindsley, an American, a journalist, has been in Ukraine since before the pandemic. He remained there after Russia attacked the sovereign nation of Ukraine, and he is continually on the ground reporting from the Ukrainian Freedom News, which he founded on his Telegraph channel, and sharing updates with us on how he's doing and how the Ukrainian people are fighting for their sovereignty. Joe Lindsley, live from Kharkiv, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Jordana, it's always encouraging to hear from you. Hello from Kyiv, the city 30 miles from Russia. And the past few days, I was in Donbass, very close to the front lines. We were delivering anti-drone jamming backpacks, sort of like from Star Wars, these force fields that protect Ukrainian soldiers. And I wanted to get a sense of the situation at the front lines. And, as we look, today is the first day of spring, and you can keenly feel that here in Ukraine, but this is ignored in the headlines. Winter is over, and we went through this whole entire winter with no successful Russian attacks on Ukrainian electrical infrastructure. The electricity worked all winter, heat worked, people had hot water. This is extraordinary because one winter ago, it was like living in the Middle Ages here. It was a very brutal winter, and everyone's ready for that to happen again. People, every shop and restaurant, office had a generator, and they never had to be used this winter. So we can confidently say today that Russia's second annual winter offensive has failed. And I think plus, as we look at all the news about Ukraine, often those stories of success, which is often the absence of a problem, get missed. And that's one reason why right now I'm here reporting in Kharkiv. And this is where, because we're so close to the border, because Ukrainians cannot use Western weapons to attack anything on Russian soil, missiles hit here before the air raid alarm can sound. And yet the city shows that the impossible is possible. Being there these past few days, I've never seen more life in this city during these past 2 years. Shops have reopened. I passed by a cafe that was hit by a Russian-Iranian suicide drone in January. It was destroyed. It's now reopened and filled with people every time I pass by. So this city shows, can show the world, if the world hears the stories, that the impossible is actually possible. And the more you see that, the more you see that, what seems like the impossible idea, the big idea of victory, can actually be achieved step by step. And that's what I see here every day.
It's so fantastic to hear you talk like that because, as you said, this is already the second winter that we've gone through with the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. We're reading that President Zelensky says Russia launched 130 missiles, more than 320 attack drones, 900 guided bombs on Ukraine, and that's just this month. I'm also reading a live update just a few minutes ago that Russia says it captured Orlikva village. So how, first of all, is any of that true? And then how do the Ukrainians see a path toward victory?
Well, I would say, just started. So there's the good news, that they failed the Russian winter offensive. Ukrainians have been destroying about once every 2 weeks Russian ships in the Black Sea. And since New Year's, they've taken out more than 10 Russian fighter jets. And perhaps this is why we've seen fewer missile attacks on cities deep within Ukraine. But in frontline places like here in Kharkiv, like Odessa, from which the Russians attack Odessa from Crimea, there are terrible and heinous attacks all the time. I saw so much destruction as I traveled to Kramatorsk and villages in Donbass, very close to the front line. They are shelled day and night. And then when I was talking with friends at the front who were fighting, it's incredibly difficult. One friend told me he's a chef maybe 4 months ago, and now he's a sniper. And he said that was the first time I'd seen him sort of out, not working in his restaurant. And he said, I can handle artillery fire, I can handle gunfire. We can respond to that. But the Russian drones, the kamikaze drones, he said, they're just awful. He said, there's not much we can do, and that's why we've been trying to get these guys these jamming backpacks. But he also told me, and I've heard this from others, the Russians have been dropping chemicals, using chemical warfare from the drones. And the friend I was speaking with has lung problems now as a result. So at the front, it's being difficult. The ammunition's been a problem. Ukrainians have to be very conservative because they don't have much ammunition. We do see some things have been changing. I think more and more, especially in Europe, leaders are starting to say that they can see the possibility that this can work if you look at it and if we change our paradigm. And President Macron of France gave a very powerful interview. I don't know how widely it was heard in the U.S. Last week, French television, and you can see character development. In the 2022, Trump was someone calling for negotiations. He said, Crimea probably can never be part of Ukraine. And he seemed scared in many ways. The President Macron that spoke last Thursday is someone who's changed and transformed. And he said there are two little limits in our vocabulary. He said 2 years ago we said we would never send tanks. We did. 2 years ago we said we would never send even range missiles. We did. And so he's saying we need to sort of shift the focus and stop thinking about Russia's red lines, start thinking about what the red lines the West wants to set, and to believe in the possibility that this could work. And so I do see this shift. People realizing that, if you think of like the total idea of victory, which could include a lot of things, like the breakup of the Russian Federation, well, that sounds overwhelming and impossible. But if you look sort of week by week, Kyiv is very well protected right now because of air defense. All right, then what's the next step? Try to protect the cities like Kharkiv by getting long-range weapons here, which the White House finally said last week that they would send some of the attackants to Ukraine, which could make a big difference. So I think as leaders are starting to say that they're looking at Ukrainian successes with limited resources, what Ukrainians have been able to do to take out these Russian jets and destroy Russian ships. Past 2 weeks, Jordana, there have been most days there's no Russian naval presence in the waters of the Black Sea. Basically, the Ukrainians are making the Black Sea untenable for the Russian Navy. So these are huge successes, despite the difficulties at the front line. And as more and more people can hear about these successes, when I speak with friends in Washington, I know colleagues, even people who have security clearances, it's amazing to me that they get a sense of what's happening there by the headlines that they see, not by any, more, on the ground report. Or if they call me and we talk. So I think the people who are closest to the situation here see more reasons for optimism than those who are far away.
Today's episode is sponsored by NerdWallet's Smart Money Podcast. Sometimes you need a change of pace. That includes your finances. Get smart with your budgeting with financial tips straight from the nerds. NerdWallet's trusted experts will set future you up for success by untangling today's web of financial misinformation. Learn about smart investing strategies, tax planning pointers, and travel tips to save on a fun family getaway. Maybe somewhere tropical? Spring ahead for smarter decisions in 2024. Follow NerdWallet's Smart Money Podcast on your favorite podcast app.
This is Richard Deitsch, the host of the Sports Media Podcast with Richard Deitsch. Multiple times a week, our podcast will get you interviews with the most notable names in sports media, from broadcasters to deal makers to people doing great work behind the scenes. Here's Hugh B. Brown.
Anytime that you win an award, it's not just because of the announcer and the analyst. It's always because of the production team.
That's the Sports Media Podcast with Richard Deitsch. Listen on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm so glad to hear that. I also want to know, Joe, we're speaking with Joe Lindsley live from Kharkiv, who he has been there since the beginning of the war, even through COVID. Joe has been living in Ukraine. Joe, how are people living? Like, are businesses functioning? I know you're not doing your regular job. You have Ukrainian Freedom News, and that's what you are doing. Are you subsisting on donations or subscriptions from Ukrainian Freedom News? I know you said you're delivering artillery, you're delivering, safe suits for frontline soldiers. How is this all possible? And how are people, making a living?
Well, in my case, and I reported every single day every weekday for 2 years in Chicago's WGN Radio, never taking a day off as I traveled the country. And then we have generous supporters who keep we're all really a volunteer team, but they keep our operations going. People need to travel around the country. and enabling us to buy trucks and drones, and now especially these amazing anti-drone backpacks. Each one's like $2,500, but they can protect 12 soldiers for a long time. And so we're able to participate in that. Almost everyone here is, takes a portion of the money that they have to invest it in the soldiers at the front line, and that's sort of the democratic effort for victory here. But you see, like these drone jammers that we're buying, they're made here. For a while, the first year, really, everyone had to buy drones made in China, and there's a lot of security concerns with that. Well, now Ukrainian ingenuity, supported, often by American and European philanthropists, they're able to build this stuff here, which also helps the economy. And here in Kharkiv, I mean, I've noticed means, people spent to work on time. I mean, I think maybe I spoke to you after this happened, but my regular coffee shop, two tools hit the same block. And 6 hours later, I went there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they opened on time with no windows and glass everywhere. The girl at the counter smiled. She remembered my usual order. No complaining. Just keep going. And that's, a year ago, this city was pretty desolate. It was kind of like the Wild East. You could drive as fast as you wanted. You kind of had to drive fast. Most places were closed. At night, there was no light. And there were a few kind of underground places. It's totally different now. There's traffic. Shops and restaurants have reopened. It's a very entrepreneurial place. And so I know many people who come back here, including Ukrainian women, who, they can easily live as refugees and, on a beach in Spain. And some of them did for a while, but they've come back here to this city, especially in this time. So we keep hearing about this idea of rebuilding. And I hear from many Americans who want to come in and invest and rebuild, and they want to make a profit, which is fine. But so much of that rebuilding it's happening every day. It's a constant rebuilding, and this is a constant process of victory. So, but even within that, at any moment, you can rebuild your business and you could be attacked again. I mean, especially here, times when I get off the train here in Kharkiv, I get a bit of a sick feeling in my stomach, just realizing that this is Russian roulette. At any moment, any place in the city could be with very little protection. As we saw last week in Odessa, I think the Russians are trying to. They're really bothered by President Macron's strong statement, and he also reminded them that he too governs in nuclear power. It was really a strong statement. And the next day, the Russians sent a missile to a residential neighborhood in Odessa, that seaside city. The moment the rescuers arrived, they sent another missile to the exact spot to kill the rescuers. So we were still dealing with that horrible intensity of war, and yet people keep going and they keep living their lives.
The stories of resilience, and it's been 2 years. It's just been such a long time. And I fear, we talk to you. I think about you. I follow you on Instagram. Everybody should follow Ukrainian Freedom News, his Telegraph channel on Instagram at JP Lindsley, to keep updated. I just don't want the world to forget. And also, Joe, are you guys getting what you need? You personally, and then Ukraine. Are you getting what you need from the world?
Well, that's been very difficult. I mean, the past months, we have the problem in Washington on both sides of the political aisle. The Republicans and the Speaker of the House refuse. The bill that they're holding up is really not so much about weapons. It's about the aid that the U.S. has been giving to sustain like the governmental operations here at schools and things like that. The European Union actually focused more on those things, and they've given a lot of support. So that's really what's held up. But the White House, even if the Republicans agree to that amount of money, that still doesn't change the fact that the White House has largely refused to send long-range weapons, and they still absolutely refuse to send anything that the Ukrainians could use to hit places in Russia, to hit Russian military bases. And so there's a problem of will on both sides of the aisle in the U.S., and that's why President Macron's strong statement, the continued strong support of Poland and the Baltic countries who, really realize the clear and present danger here, but also see the possibility that this can change. For example, the president of Czech Republic, they found 800,000 rounds of artillery ammunition, and they're going to get them here to Ukraine soon. That's going to make a difference. the U.S., the White House did say they're going to send these attackers. We don't know how much. I think we should all pay attention to that, because when they do arrive here, I think we'll be able to see some significant results as we've seen in the past. And if that does work, why not send more? And that's always been the tough part, that the view and everyone forgets about it. So Ukraine needs long-range weapons. Ukraine needs better more air defense, Patriot missiles to protect a place like Kharkiv, and ammunition. And the best regular people can, besides campaigning and talking to members of Congress, is helping on the smaller scale stuff. And that's why we focused our efforts to buy these anti-drone backpacks. They have you wear it, and it creates a force field pretty much, and it causes the Russian kamikaze drones. It ruins their signal, and they fall to the ground before they can attack you. And so, if anyone wants to help with that, we welcome support at UkrainianFreedomNews.com to help protect these guys with these drone jamming backpacks.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing what you need. We're writing down notes. And Joe, if people want to personally support you and your cause, where can they go?
To UkrainianFreedomNews.com, and there is a PayPal option, which is unrestricted, and then there's a tax-deductible option, which we can use to help assisting medics and those working on evacuation of the wounded. We can get them drone jammers, we can get them vehicles, all things they need. So we welcome that support at UkrainianFreedomNews.com, and you can follow our daily reports there. And I just posted a video in response to Tucker Carlson, his love affair with Moscow. So you can check that out at our website, UkrainianFreedomNews.com.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Joe Lindsley, always great to talk with you. Thank God you're okay. We will check back in with you soon, my friend. Be safe.
So then, always great to talk with you as well. Дякую from Ukraine. Thanks.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important, that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Что он сказал?
Well, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?